just going to clap my hands because it helps me sync the cameras up. All right, I think we're rocking. Just look at me.
Yep.
First of all, just your full name and spell it.
Spell it.
Yeah, just say your full name and spell it.
My name's Sarah Jessica Island Meyers. SARAHIRELNAND. No, I'm terrible at spelling.
No, that's okay.
I wasn't expecting that.
Sorry.
That was a head fuck.
I've got it written down.
But my full name is Sarah Jessica Island Meyers.
So just tell me a little bit about yourself to begin with.
I originally grew up in WA. I moved to Tasmania in 2006 with my parents. Through, I guess, a relationship breakdown with my parents, I ended up in the welfare system. By the time I think I was 14, I was offending and hanging out with some not so good people, which resulted with me getting incarcerated quite a number of times. By the time I was 16, I'd broken out of that cycle of bad behaviour and, I guess, addiction. I suffered with addiction issues when I was younger, and it's led into homelessness as an adult. So it's my story. When I was 19, I got into my first relationship, and we had a good relationship for a number of years before it turned sour. But through that period, I actually went and did my youth work Cert 4 and ended up working for council for a little while. So there's many bad things that I have experienced. I've always tried to do the right thing and educate myself in ways that I can better look after myself and the community. And yeah, that's...
Just tell me at any point, if you don't want to answer something, but what are some of those lessons you think that stand out the most from you?
Believe in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken out of this, is that everyone has different problems. We all come from different walks of life, and sometimes you've just got to be there for yourself instead of looking for outside validation. You should recognise that you're the most important person in your life and that only you can help you. I think a lot of people seek outside validation to help themselves when really it's about going inwards, not outwards. And I think that's probably the best thing that I've learned, is to work on yourself. And it honestly never stops. You'll always be learning. But it's that courage to try, and it's that courage to want to do better.
I think the one thing that stands out straight away from the first part of your story is bravery, and you being able to tell that story. I think that's important. But then there's also experience in which you pass on. What are some of the ways in which you're working to pass on your experience to support other people that might like you go through the same thing?
I think just being there for people. I think experience-wise, I know what it was like as a young person not to have someone there. And so I think just showing up and being present, being there for people when they need it. Everyone has different problems. My ability to help might only just be advice and sending them in the right direction with someone who has that information so that they can make an informed decision about what they're doing and not make a decision based from fear and being alone, because I think a lot of the time that is what happens. People internalise their struggles and they make emotional decisions rather than rational ones. I think a lot of the curriculum, I think if we taught emotional intelligence and things like that in schools, it would help a lot for people to be able to navigate their own problems. Yeah.
I think most of the population has a very surface level of these words, homelessness or struggle or disadvantage. What does that mean to you at those types of, like, are they stigma or are they words that you connect with?
Me and my friends argue about this all the time because I think homelessness is a choice. You can choose to want to be a better person, or you can choose to buy into the addictions and these things that we're fed by society. But it is a choice. And like I said, emotional intelligence and having the ability to make an informed decision will take you a lot further. And so I think education at the very basic level is a fundamental thing that needs to change in our country, because without education you can't make an informed decision. So I think that is really where we need to start the reform process, really, of education and the curriculum and what we're teaching children and young people, because otherwise we stay stuck.
What is special or interesting about the stuff that Orange Sky is doing as a service?
I think what Orange Sky is doing is amazing. I don't know if you guys have been to a laundromat, but it costs about $15 to $20 to do one load of washing, and I think this service is good. It's economical. They're helping people that are in need. Yeah, they're always here. They're such a nice bunch of people. The volunteers are awesome to chat to. I'm friends with a few of the girls, so I think I've come away with lifelong bonds, and that's important.
Cool. What do you, like, different people have different perceptions on what the impact of Orange Sky is? Like, from laundry to connection to conversation to that sort of stuff. What is it for you?
A bit of everything, but I think the social thing is a big thing for me. I think when you're struggling, whether you're homeless or whether you're just introverted or whatnot, being able to have other people to talk to and to connect with is very important. Everything is energy, and it's nice to have people with such good uplifting spirits to talk to. You get into some pretty interesting conversations with these guys, so it's good. It's nice to have like positive outlook and people that want to see you do well and want to help. And like I said, I think 80% of any job is just showing up. It's just being present and not worrying about the past, not worrying about the future. They're interested in the here and now, and I think that's very important because so many people get lost in the past or worry about the future. And it's just nice to have people that want to talk to you in the moment, want to see what's going on in your life, and yeah.
Do you think it matters that everyone's a volunteer rather than paid? Like differentiation between the service and what the support?
Yes, because people want to be there. There's a difference in, I think, being paid to go and do a job and having people that are volunteering their own time and energy and support to come and help people. Right? It's because they want to be here. They want to help the community, and it does make a big difference because they don't have to be here. They're doing it off their own backs, and I think that's very important.
Yeah. Are there certain things around being a female that's different in terms of disadvantage or struggle or homelessness in your life?
I think it's easier to be a homeless woman than what it would be to be a homeless man. And I say that because I think men are always taught to protect women and to try and help and serve and that sort of stuff. So I think just in general, women are better looked after than men. And it's sad, but it's true. So I don't really think it's that I have a disadvantage or an advantage. It is what it is, because it also comes with, I guess, the safety aspect of being a woman. But that's pretty much the only thing that I would say gives me a disadvantage, if you want to call it that. But
I'm doing a fair bit of work in youth justice, and Tasmania's in a fascinating position now. The youth detention centre is in this weird transition where they don't know what to do. Do you have perceptions on what is the government's role in how they support young kids when they are in that position of injustice?
I was in welfare, and I was also in that detention centre 8 times. Like most institutions, I actually think they're breeding grounds for people that are not doing the correct thing. Unfortunately, people hide very well, and the Ashley's Youth Detention Centre was a very sad thing because there were so many young people throughout that period that were taken advantage of. My question is, how come it went unnoticed for so long? And even though that they know with multiple accounts and multiple people having been arrested for not good things, I wonder why it has not been addressed and why it still is open, because they know for a fact there's been multiple incidences there where children were molested and raped and all sorts of things. I don't really see that the government has done anything other than chuck money at people, and to me that's just kind of like hush money. So it's effectively just created a cycle of trauma for probably everybody involved. And I think the issue is the government per se can't really do anything about those issues. We need people that have, like I said, the education level has to mirror the issue. So I think the first thing that they should do is probably get counsellors, get the people that are experiencing trauma, dealing with these traumas, to work alongside those kids. At the moment, I think what's not being addressed is that they're not even getting the right service help. So I think that's the first thing to addressing the issue.
I think you touched on it before a bit, and I think in there it's like, how do you provide like agency to people to do it themselves, and how do you create things that are around participation? Do you see any of that happening within the social sector of Hobart?
Not really. And that's probably the problem, is that the access points for businesses to be able to come together to help in social issues like this, there's no funding for it. As you said about the volunteer thing, it's got to be people that want to be there, but people that aren't going to abuse their power in those positions. And I think that's vital for this cycle of trauma to stop. It's having the right people to come together, to work together, to close the gap, so to speak, to create a service that can then be funded by the government. But I think we in the community need to do that. Maybe the government can supply the funding for things like that, but ultimately it's the community that has to look after the people.
Yeah, Orange Sky started with two young fellas in Brizzy and got pretty big.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations on how you think they can continue to stay true to themselves as they continue to grow? Like, there's obviously a lot more interest in them and money and stuff. Like, how do they stay close to?
I think staying with the volunteer program will probably make it very effective in the way that the people that will jump on board are all going to want to be there. I think in terms of expansion for Orange Sky, most of the people that I do know that work for Orange Sky are in other job positions as well. And so I guess just utilising the skills that they have from those other jobs, transferable skills, but ones that are going to empower young people, because I think there's a difference between supporting someone and empowering someone. And I think that's what's got to change. We've got to stop this, we support stuff and start empowering people. Yeah.
It's always difficult to talk about like really specific things that changed like your course. Were there different things that changed your course along the way? You said you've been in detention a few times. Like, are there certain scenarios that changed your course either the better or worse?
I think the things that affected me were emotional response, I think. I would deal with things as a young person and I didn't understand my emotions or how to handle them. And I think from an early age I dealt with a lot of trauma from a very early age, and so I didn't have, I guess, the best peer support systems and I didn't have very good role models around me. I learned through making lots of mistakes that you shouldn't punish yourself, and education really does matter. You think it doesn't when you're younger, but when you're 16 or 18 and you can't function as an adult, it does reflect in both your behaviour and the way you look. Yeah, it's still down to what we teach people is emotional intelligence, it's making informed decisions, but you need education to do that. And unfortunately, we have a lot of fake teachers now. I remember I dropped out of college basically because I wanted to become an accountant, but the teacher that was teaching it had never worked a day in their life as an accountant. And I think for me, I started questioning these organisations and institutions where they were expecting us to come and give our time to get certificates, etc. But the people that were teaching us these subjects weren't actually qualified to be teaching these subjects and had no life experience in those roles. And so I think for me, it was the hypocrisy of it all, is that you got all these people teaching you to go into this job, but they'd never done the job. How can you teach me to do something you've never done? So education really does matter. And yeah, and I guess what I said earlier about having people that don't abuse their power, I think. A lot of people are given power and a lot of people misuse it. So that's probably what I would say.
Last few words about like hanging around this sort of shift like experience. Like, what's it feel like for someone that doesn't know what it's like to hang out in Orange Sky?
So if you've never been to Salvos or you've never worked with Orange Sky, for me, the social interaction is very important. It's giving me a safe space in the community to talk about my life and the things I'm wanting to do. And I guess, like I said, having different people to touch base with and that have the experience, that can give me advice and they can support but empower me to also do the right things. And I think that's very important. And without having that support and empowerment, I think I would be just going in the same cycles and the same loops. So it's nice to have someone to break the chain, so to speak, because it does matter. I think people don't realise how important friends are. I feel like recently I've had to cut off a lot of my old friends because I want better for myself or I want better for my life. And Orange Sky and the Salvation Army have been a big help in me being able to be on the straight and narrow. It's given me somewhere safe to come. It's given me a whole new social circle. So it's been good. And it's helped me a lot. It gives me somewhere safe to go and somewhere supportive. And they do a lot for the community, not just for me. So it's nice.
Anything we didn't touch on that you want to talk about, or other things that you...
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was very nice.
Such a great job. I'm just going to take a little photo.